Hey guys, welcome to Stacking the Shelves for the week of September 7th. It's actually my book haul for the last couple weeks. I didn't do one last week, and I'm doing this kind of early in the week on Labor Day because I have work off and it's easy for me to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start going through them. I got a couple for review. The first one I got for review is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This is about a woman who works in hell in the library, and it's the library where unfinished works, like written works, reside. So it's kind of a little different. It looked really fun, and I thought it'd be fun to read. So I got this through NetGalley, and it comes out October 1st. The other one I got for review is Unnatural Magic by C.M. Wagner. This comes out November 5th. And it's kind of a Victorian fantasy, it sounds like, about a girl who's really good at writing spells but is not allowed to attend university, and a troll, and that's pretty much all I know about it. So it should be a fun one. And then I did buy a book, and the book I bought is The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 7 by Sula, we'll just say Nagabe. I don't know. I never know how to say these names. This is a fantasy fairy tale series I've really been liking, about a young girl who gets infected with this monstrous plague that makes her turn other people into these monsters, and a monster that we only know as Teacher, who kind of ends up protecting her when her family kind of throws her out into the woods to die. So I've really been enjoying it. It does move a little bit more slow. I know my family is complaining, well, it's kind of boring. I like it. I like the unique artwork throughout, and I've been really enjoying it. The other one I got is one I swapped, and I actually had this on my paperback swap list for a really long time and just finally got it. And that's Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, Blackwood's Guide to Dangerous Fairies by Guillermo del Toro, Christopher Golden, and Troy Mixley. So this is kind of a neat book. It's got like a black edge to the page. A lot of the pages are different colors. There's a lot of drawings and stuff in here. It's just kind of a unique book, and I don't believe it's in print anymore, so I was kind of waiting, at least not this version. I'm just waiting kind of a long time to get this through paperback swap, so I'm excited to read that. And then I got a bunch of books from the library. One of them was one I had on reserve, and that is the story Raider by Lindsay A. Franklin. I really like the story Peddler, although it got a little weird at the end, like kind of preachy. So I'm curious to see if this one is like as good as the beginning of the first one, or if it continues to get kind of strange and preachy at the end. This ends up being more of a Christian fantasy than like a straight fantasy. And while I have no issue with that, I do have an issue when it gets really preachy and the characters' actions start not making sense. So I'm really excited to read this and see how that progresses. If it gets really bad, it might be a do not finish for me. If it's as good as the beginning of the first book, then I'm super excited to read it. So I'm kind of mixed on that one. Then I did pick up 3 graphic novels at the library while I was there, just because I haven't been reading a lot of graphic novels, and I do have a graphic novel reading challenge I'm supposed to be doing. And they had a few new ones that I hadn't seen before. And the first one I picked up is Battling Boy by Paul Pope. I don't really know much about this. It looks like it's a boy. He's supposed to save the world, and it's colorful, and I like the drawing, so that's kind of why I picked it up. The second one I picked up at the graphic novel is The Windy Project by Osborne Fish. Again, I don't know a lot about this except for it's like a Peter Pan retelling, and I like kind of the watercolory type of drawing in there, so it should be a fun, quick read. And then my library has this whole series, and I keep looking at it, but I've never read it, and that is Deadly Class Volume 1 by a whole bunch of people, Reminder Craig and Luridge. So, pretty classic type of illustration style. It's rated mature, and so my son will not be reading this one. But I thought I'd give it a try. They do have the whole series at my library, so if I want to keep reading it, it's very convenient for me to read. So I think that leaves me at, let's see, 4 books from the library. You couldn't see story reader there. One that I bought and one that I swapped. So Don't Be Afraid Dark and The Girl from Airside 7. And then 2 for review. So I believe that's 8 books that I got over the last few weeks. That's really all I have to say. Things have been really hectic. I had to travel last week for work, so that always gets me pretty behind on stuff. And then I got back, and it was Labor Day weekend. We had family coming in. I met my sister and her family Friday night. Went to dinner and went out. Saturday, we met some friends that went to the Renaissance Festival here in Minnesota, which is always very fun. And then yesterday, we had to get up early. We had a tree go down of a storm that came through, so we spent half the day kind of cutting up that tree into, first we had to cut it down and deal with all the branches, and anybody who's dealt with trees knows it takes a while, and then haul all the wood back to our wood pile and get it cut into pieces that we can burn in the fire pit. So that was interesting, and we had some errands to run to. My son wanted to make a blanket, and I wanted to make some skirts, so we went over to Joann's, and then that ended up being me making the blanket and me making a skirt and everybody else leaving, which happens. Like, I made him sit down and like kind of use the sewing machine because he's never used it before, but the blanket material he picked was super thick and fluffy, so it was really hard to push through the sewing machine, so then I ended up doing it. And we had a nice fire outside and we've been watching the Umbrella Academy, so we're almost done with that, and then watched some Claymore manga. My son has never seen that, so we started watching some of that with him. So all in all, it was a pretty good day. We did a lot of walking and a lot of work in the morning, then kind of hung out in the afternoon. We've been having beautiful weather here. It's been in the upper 60s, low 70s, which is amazing. The last few weeks have just been amazing, and everybody's starting to kind of take it for granted, but we need to remember we don't get this kind of nice weather. Usually it's high 90s in August, and then going into September, it can be anything from snowing to 90-something, so having nice 70 weather is pretty unique. We have been spending a lot of time. We started playing Pokemon Go again, and we've been spending some time, like when we're out, like doing raids and taking over gyms and all that kind of stuff. My son kind of got us back into that again. And of course, like, my son is like, whatever, we're playing it too much now. And my husband are like completely into it. So whatever, what can you do? Anyways, I hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend, and that you had your great first week back at school or work, or maybe some people have been back to school earlier. This is going to be posting at the end of my son's first week back to school, so hopefully that'll go well. That's all I really have to say. So I hope you got some great books this week, and that you have a great week of reading ahead of you. I will talk to you next week. Bye.